everybody, welcome to Maitri Plays Games. My name is Maitri and I'm very passionate about tabletops and I am learning to be a better GM, better player, and a better person. And I want to share with you some of the cool stuff that I have been learning. Today we are trying to be better people. And so I know Journeys to the Radiant Citadel isn't the new hotness, and hasn't been for a fucking minute. But I do have more to say about it now that, it's been out for a year. I have personally run about half the adventures from it in different capacities as like one shots as part of my campaigns and that kind of thing. I'm actually running one right now. And WOTC has had like half a dozen public fuck ups since the release. So, looking back, I have some additional thoughts. Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel was the freshest and most novel release for Wizards of the Coast in a fucking minute. It was vibrant, it was inclusive, it platforms, and most importantly, pays creators of color. I have personally gushed about it here on my Twitter. I love what it stands for, and also it's just an objectively good book of adventures. Like, it's a really solid supplement. Now that there's been some breathing room, as I said, we can kind of look back, and I can see pretty damn clearly that the release had a few pretty major problems, and this knowledge stems from both my professional expertise as well as, just having like eyes and being able to see. So anyway, one, Wizard centered the entire marketing around the book as being created by minority creators. And yeah, that's a big part of it, but it's not the only part of it. So for anyone who wanted to know, is it a campaign setting? Is it an anthology of adventures? Where's it set? What is it apart from a book that platforms minority creators? So they basically relied on like the goodwill and excitement of people of color in the space to amplify the message, which we did and continue to do. Wizards not giving it better messaging is a pretty major misstep and frankly a disservice to a really good, really strong product that the hard work that went into it is pretty evident. It's even more apparent that this could have functioned as a point of redemption if Wizards had done more with it in that series of fuck ups that were due to follow. And there have been several. So, I mean, Wizards not doing more with the messaging, it kind of shows you how important diverse stable, how important creators of color are to them, which is not very much, which is disappointing, but frankly, pretty unsurprising. The other reason that this missed marketing and missed messaging opportunity was such a big deal is that the Radiant Citadel release came on the heels of some pretty meaty playable releases like Wild Beyond the Witchlight, which is like a 40 or 50 something session campaign set in the Finlands, and Candlekeep Mysteries, which is an anthology of 17 adventures. So, and both of those had a fair bit of messaging around the products and, who created them and what they were and whatever else. So, unless you tell people why Radiant Citadel is also worth buying, and it's not just bloat. It's kind of an easy one to pass on because apart from knowing it was written by minorities, you kind of don't know anything else about it. That, knowing that it was created by minorities is enough for some of us, but for a lot of folk, a lot of white folk, and I say this respectfully, they'll agree intellectually that people of color should get equitable treatment, but putting their money where their mouth is a different story, especially when the money is like 40 or $50. So it really doesn't help when the decision is made even harder by the company who is releasing this. The third issue, and this is just bad timing, but it speaks to the broader mismanagement happening at Wizards and frankly probably what contributed to the first two things that I mentioned. The release of Radiant Citadel and the excitement about the book got completely swept away and under in the reaction and anger to the Spelljammer release. The appropriate reaction and anger, frankly. I have a whole ass video about that, so I'm not gonna repeat a lot of myself. I am gonna link that down below. But basically, it's not okay to expect anyone, but especially black and brown team members, to be activists and sensitivity readers on top of the regular deliverables to be an effective project team member. It should not be that, 2.5 people that have like no power are the only ones that notice anything even like that should not be the case. And so you need a diverse slate of folks that have different perspectives, that have voices at the table. And additionally, you need to have someone with a dedicated role, sensitivity reader, or multiple sensitivity readers. Though, honestly, a lot of people think that having a sensitivity reader is kind of like a cure-all mandate for racism and inequality. It isn't. Sensitivity reading can only be a way to mitigate some harm. And for a company like Wizards, who it's been made clear only kind of sees this as a box to check, that's probably how they treat it. I have personally done sensitivity work for tabletop stuff. They are under no obligation to take your feedback. I gave a ton of disability and sensitivity feedback to one project in particular, in which only about 10 or 15% of my feedback made it into final printing. Thankfully, it wasn't anything too egregious, but essentially now what happens is if their feet are held to the fire, this company gets to say, oh, but we had this disabled brown immigrant woman do a read for disability and cultural sensitivity. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here like, I might want you to take my name off that book. It's not a cure-all. Anyway, that is all I have today. If you like this video, consider subscribing. But if you don't like notifications or subscriptions, I do have a backlog, and I put things out, I try to put things out weekly. I do also have an audio-only podcast format, and I'm on a few different extra plays. I'll link all of that in the description for you to check out if you want. Otherwise, thank you so much for hanging out. Come and see me again soon. Bye.